Hey YouTubers, it is a brand new day. Good morning. We are back in the office again. We're going to do that color painting on the office closet. Just kind of wanted to get on here and kind of talk about a few things. One being, I don't know if I'm going to actually need to get more paint. I was kind of realizing yesterday that the can was kind of dwindling a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I don't have to do another coat on that one color in the closet, but depending on how far it goes into the hallway. So we're gonna see, and I'm pretty sure y'all probably wondering, why don't I just get enough of paint to do the whole thing? Don't quite know how much paint it would take. And I'm one of them people, we're doing a house remodel to save money. We're doing it ourselves. So, in perspective of that, if you save it anywhere you can, it helps out. I don't buy extra paint unless I need it. So I could actually go back and just get a half a gallon, 1 gallon, whatever. And I don't like tinting the paint, and then what are you gonna use it for? It was maybe touch-up paint, but you can always go back and get one of those little bitty sample size for touch-up paint later on. So I don't do multiple gallons of paint until I know I need it. So it saves money that way. It's just a trip to Lowe's. But I also was reviewing some of the footage that I've been shooting, and I kind of noticed something that was really starting to stand out on the footage, and that is actually the, I guess you could see the reset little ceiling thing in here in the hallway. And what that is our attic access. And just to let you know, no, it is not gonna stay that brown color. That is a temporary piece of paneling that we put up there. We put some paneling up there just to cover it because it did used to be an old attic fan, and we turned it into our attic access because it's a nice big platform up there where if you put your ladder up there, you can get onto it real simple. So we said, why not? The AC unit, all the stuff that we need to get to is right here. Our original attic access is all the way in our bedroom, which is odd. And it's a small little bitty hallway that it's in, and you have to carry stuff up and down that ladder. So we said, why don't we move it, make it a big, massive hole, so if you have anything large, you can get it up there. If not, how would you get it up there besides dismantling it and putting it back up? Putting it together once you got it back up there. But anyway, on that note, that happens to be a board that we're gonna finish building out. It is pretty big, so it has to be assembled down here, but then painted and then brung around. So we're gonna try to do that, but that's also where I am going to hopefully make a video of the 3D stenciling that I did in the corners in here and on the door. So hopefully that video will work out. If not, then I'll keep trying. But anyway, just to kind of give you a little explanation on that ugly brown paneling that is stuck on the ceiling. So that will probably become my next project after I get the room painted and the shelves put in. That way I can work on that and work on moving everything in. But of course, we still have a lot to do in here. We have the flooring that will be going down after we get finished with the painting, and then we will be framing out for the door. So if y'all continue enjoying all these videos and seeing how we do stuff here, y'all are more than welcome to come and watch us do it. So anyway, enough of your time already spent, so let's get to painting. Bye. Hey YouTubers, I have been experimenting with what I think how I'm gonna do that fade that I've been talking about from the ceiling to the wall with the two different colors. Now, I have did this in arts and crafts painting, but never on a wall this grand of a scale, and definitely the color issue kind of makes me very nervous because it's going to be very wide, I think. But I've tried it on a flat area here, and I will move the camera so y'all can see, but doing it at an angle, I think, is going to be where it might get a little tricky. But we're going to play with it. We're going to find out, and I'm going to let y'all see how I do it. It looks pretty good right now. Kind of gotten it all ready to know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to move this camera and be able to show y'all. Alright, hope y'all can see that. And I'll kind of move it a little bit closer if I have to. What basically you do is you take a brush. I have these two throwaway little bitty flat containers, not a little single mouth, but flat. So what I've done is I've taken this brush and I'll pretty much just swipe it or dip it, one corner of it in the paint. Trying to make where it doesn't drip into my other paint. And then I'll scoop up some of the white, since that's what we're going with. I have another piece of test cardboard here, and pretty much I'm just going to start blending that brush to where it starts blending those colors. And you see, it works pretty good. So I actually kind of did like I guess a false wall kind of pattern with a whole bunch of purple and then some white on it. This side looks pretty good. I did that and I tested it, so pretty much. And you can even go back over what you've already done. Just kind of play with it until you feel that it looks pretty. So pretty much I think I'm gonna let this dry before I actually hop onto the wall and try it. But every time you need to refill your brush, you just dip a little bit more in the colors that is on the brush. And also make sure when you go to paint that you have the matching colors, because if you go to paint the opposite way, you're going to paint the different color on the wall. So you don't want that to happen, because then you'd have to go back and repaint and touch up. Also, I probably will have me a little bitty rag. I tried to make sure that the paint on the wall is completely dry, so that way I can have a rag and I can wipe off anything that might mess up. So we're gonna try this, and so come along with me and let's see if we can get it done. I do not know if the GoPro, if I'm gonna be able to have it close enough for you to actually see, but after I get one section done, I'll probably pick up the GoPro and let you see it. All right, let's try it out. All right, YouTubers, I have a workstation set out of the room because it's just big and bulky. I'll need to be pushing around the stool to get up to the corner. So I'm gonna do all my paint loading over there at that little workstation. So I'm gonna try this. Wish me luck. Let's hope it works out. Let's see what happens. Hey guys, my first impression of the fade is definitely not like on flat surfaces. So I'll bring the camera up there and let you kind of look at it or whatever, but it may need to be another coat on top of that one to really bring out that fade. You do have to kind of make sure where you're putting your brush. And if, like me, I kind of flick at the end of a paintbrush, so the flicking will kind of touch parts that's not supposed to be touched. So if you can see it, that is the end product of there, which, I mean, you can kind of tell that there's brush strokes in there, but I don't know. I'm gonna let it dry and come back to it and see if I like it or not. It's doable, I do believe, but right now there's such a big contrast between the wet and dry paint that I think it's throwing me off. So I will get back on here whenever it dries and tell you if I'm gonna keep going or not. All right, bye for now. Hey YouTubers, wanted to give you a quick update on the blending of the two colors at the ceiling from the wall. I actually kind of was cleaning my brush off to start fresh when we start again, and I realized that the brush I was using was an angled brush, and that might have been some of my issue, because of course with the angled brush, I don't have it, it's actually soaking right now, but with the angled brush you have one end that's higher than the other, so of course it's gonna hit differently with that angled brush. So I changed to a flat brush. It's quite a big flat brush. I figured that wouldn't help. It might actually, well, wouldn't hurt, it might actually help. And it did. If you can see up in this corner, we'll get a close-up shot of it later, but I like it so much that I'm actually gonna just go ahead and continue. And then I got to thinking about it also too, worst case scenario, either I repaint it or I go over it with trim. So we are going to go ahead with it. I figure why not? Let's see what it looks like. If I don't like it, if I hate it, I can change it. All right, come and watch. Hey YouTubers, I actually think I am done for recording today because I'm gonna keep fooling around with this blending thing. I think it will work. I think it looks pretty good. The only thing is that that's my personal opinion. If you like consistency and very flush lines, blending's not going to work for you, because you will have certain strokes that will be a little bit different than the next. Also, if you don't want it to take a long time, probably not for you either, because I did notice that the corners are a little bit tricky. So you have to kind of finagle with the direction of the brush and getting some extra paint in there to start with. I went over with some white on the ceiling and then filled in the purple on the corner part, and then took that big brush and dragged it in one direction. And that was another thing that I figured out. If you load your brush up, load it on the side that you will be painting, depending on what direction you go in. And also, it is easy to, I got that little pen because the cardboard worked for just a short little bit of time, but I've noticed whenever I started loading the paint on there that, you know, the purple would start draining because you don't go further down, because when you have your blend, you want to keep that blend. So it builds up at the bottom and drains down, so it was getting all over my hands and dripping on the floor. So you don't want that mess, but this little pan seems to work. But also I figured out too, is that if you have separate little bitty brushes and you can just dab, I wouldn't put enough to pull on this plate, but enough that to be able to work your brush and have enough for you to go a couple times. And then of course, loading that brush up on that one side. Also, whenever you scrape, try to scrape it and fill it up on one side of that brush, which makes it easy for it to be a little bit more consistent whenever you go up to the ceiling, because that back and forth like that, because even though it doesn't seem like it, that front of that brush is different than the back of that brush. So if you keep your brush strokes all fluid, it tends to even it out a lot. So I'm gonna try to fix this wall, which is the wall that I had the angled brush on and I was experimenting. So I'm gonna try to fix that one. It seems like it's doing pretty good. I'll probably just have to go back on the ceiling just a little bit with some white and keep feathering it out as it dries, but I need it to dry first. So I'm gonna keep doing that where I want this fade to go, and keep fooling around with the corners and stuff to see if I can figure out easier way for y'all to do it. But if you're not afraid to experiment and go for it and mess up and do it again, then hey, more power to you. Try it, because I think the whole look of it is going to be beautiful whenever I can get it right. So I'm gonna keep trying at it. I'm not gonna give up. And then hopefully, like I said, the closet's the perfect place to practice that. So hopefully I can get it down pat and know exactly how to do it. And then when I get to the office, after I get that paint done, be able to do it without any issues. All right, well, like I said, I'm not gonna videotape any more of the fading. I will probably get back on here in a day or two and do the office paint. Go ahead and put that other color on there, and might as well. And then I can fool around with this in between the coach drying in there as well. So I will let you get out of here and find something else to do or go try some blending. But anyway, that is it. I am done for today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.